What's a smell you won't ever forget? Whatever the rock is cooking. The smell of gasoline. I love that smell. Is that weird? If it is, at least we're both weird. The smell of water inside the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. Disgusting chemical, metallic smelling if I remember correctly. The rubber mats from gym class dodgeballs. I would say the chlorine after a swim meet for me. How my mom smells like home. The smell of death. I came with my parents, check on my grandma, monsieur, there is absolutely nothing else like it. Was returning a carriage at the supermarket and smelled something off. Someone had overdosed in the car next to the cart return and it was a very hot summer day. Won't be forgetting that ever. It really is the worst and it comes on pretty quickly. I work with elderly people. When they're in their last days of life and bedbound, the smell comes even before they pass away. It's such a weird smell, but oddly, I've got used to it. Don't have much choice really. Asterisk C, diff asterisk. Can do CDIFF. Can do GI bleed. Learned I can't do the mixture of stomach acid and tube feed emesis. The smell of fresh cut cherry wood. It's so amazing, it just instantly makes you happy. That and fir trees. Tripe. In Scotland, tripe is cooked in milk with onions. My mother made it for my father when I was a kid. The smell made me instantly throw up. It smells of death. Just fucking horrible. She never made it again while I lived there. Years later I did turn up unexpectedly. Opened the door. Smelled it. About turn. Shouted I'm going up the pub for a few hours while they tucked into their bowls of death. Yes. Reminds me of when my dad used to cook kipper in milk. Sort of like Cullen skink. I've been trying to describe this to my Canadian wife for years. Absolutely horrific. Stunk out the whole house. I couldn't leave any clothes out of the reek of fish until you washed them. My mom has some perfumes she always used when I was a kid. Every time I smell something similar it always reminds me of my childhood. The smell of a new paperback book the first few times it's opened. Construction paper, crayons, markers, glue, and hand sanitizer. Every elementary school, but specifically whenever I walk into a school it's that smell that makes me have flashbacks like Anton Ego in Ratatouille back to his childhood. There was a girl who sat behind me freshman year of high school. She wore a skirt with tights or leggings. She was emo goth every day and always sat gape-legged because she was cool. The smell that emanated from her was of raw shrimp that had gone bad covered in Charlie. An old lady perfume. I had to learn to breathe through my mouth. My grandma wears that perfume to this very day and I'm reminded of that girl and I almost vomit. Sulfur from the geysers at Yellowstone. A full pallet of rotten watermelon. It's the only smell I've ever smelled that had texture. I get queasy just thinking about it. Bourbon Street, New Orleans greater than. If you know, you know, less than. Durian. Refrigerator left unplugged for months with food in it. Oh no, the ones in hoarders. Don't they know to just duct tape them and take them away? The first time I passed Nashville hot chicken from my bowels. An infected tooth. Used to work in root canal therapy. There's not much to compare it to. Pus and rot. Favorite was when the patient would smell it and would ask what it was once able to. It's your active infection, brother, that you let fester for years. I have so much respect for people who work with teeth. Oh my god, I feel real awful because I can't really tell when my breath smells. When I was younger, my mom drove an old 96-98 Buick. Something with the AC went way wrong and the car stunk anytime we ran it. I can remember the smell as if I just stepped out of the car. Somehow, reading yours, I can smell it too. The smell of an entire neighborhood burned down from out-of-control fires. Burned about 70 homes in this neighborhood. I remember walking through the piles of ash and melted metal, picking through the rubble. I can't really explain the smell except for maybe a campfire after you burn something plastic in it. X100. I think the smell stuck with me because there were a lot of emotions I was having at the time. So my brain decided to make note of it. The olfactory sensors in the brain, where scent is processed, are right next to the hippocampus where memories are stored. That's why smells can trigger memories so easily. The cigarillos my friend's dad smoked when we were kids. He was a trucker, and when he'd get home he'd take us for short rides in his 18-wheeler. More than 10 years since the last time I had smelled that. One of my friends just happened to light one up around me and a wave of nostalgia came over me. It was crazy. Artificial peach, wet gangrene, Fournier's gangrene, the worst. The smell of women's hair and nail salons. My mom used to be a hairdresser and she would have my brothers and I at work some days. My grandmother had a hair salon when I was a kid, and I absolutely loved the smells from there. My one sister actually lives above a salon now because she finds it comforting. The drag strip, race fuel burning rubber. Best memories I have with Dad. I'm not a huge motorsports fan, but I've been to a few NASCAR races. The smell is quite addictive. It's way better live. By Axon. It's an expensive antibiotic I took when I was young because I'm allergic to penicillin. Smells like vanilla extract, only slightly warmer and creamier. I would just sit there sniffing the shit when I was a kid. My mom thought something was wrong with me. I too had to take Biaxin after amoxicillin failed to kill whatever it was I had. I remember it tasting like what I'd imagined Gugan to taste like though. I almost threw up every time I had to take it. I dunno, maybe I just had a sadistic pharmacist. The earthy smell post-rains. I had quite a shitty experience. Of the buffalo variety. I was working part-time at a zoo and on one sunny day I had the task of cleaning out the buffalo poo. Turds the size of semi-deflated basketballs covered the grass area all around, leaving the once green place a stale brown. It wasn't too bad. At least I was outside where the air could flow freely. But then there was the hut. This dark hut carpeted with shit mounds and with a surprisingly small opening did a good job of trapping a lot of the shit-laced air, and in the heat the shit felt like it hung in the air. This was a few years ago, so maybe I'm remembering the smell worse than it was, but it was definitely a powerful odor. My roommate's dog once got sprayed by a skunk and ran into the house trying to escape it. I was upstairs at my desk and got hit with the most foul odor. For those who have never experienced it, that skunk smell from the road, nothing like what it's like right in front of you on the dog. It was vile. Roomie got the dog cleaned up, but OMG, that was awful. When my dog got sprayed, I swear it smelled like a burning tire on top of stinky skunk musk. He ran inside and rubbed all over the carpet. It took 6 months to go away. Like rotten burnt garlic. I like the smell of a skunk just driving by. It reminds me of home in the country. But fresh spray or a dead skunk is a complete 180. Disgusting. Vodka and spearmint gum. Dad was an alcoholic and always chewed gum to try and hide it. Teen spirit. The smell in a gymnasium is your stale sweat. Skull, cherry. Even the thought makes me want cringe. My wife is an RN, and one time a guy came in because he tried to kill himself by lighting himself on fire. The smell of burnt flesh is one you can't forget. Dog shit in the house. Home Depot. That's the best smell, even though sometimes it's weird because it feels dusty or a bit harder to breathe. For real. Home Depot, Lowe's both give me strangely nostalgic feelings. The chicken abattoirs in Abbotsford, BC at 3 in the morning. The metallic smell of elevators. Guess I'm just weird. Radiologist here. When I was still in med school, I had to attend several surgeries as part of my training. It was a really hot summer and we had been performing surgery for a few hours on this poor guy with a complicated oncological case. I hadn't eaten anything that day, because no time. So the first surgeon is using electrocautery to cut through some muscle and fat, and my mouth is watering up because the whole room is filled with this barbecue smell, and as I look down on the patient I think that's really delicious. It's 1996. Summer. Northern Idaho, though you don't know what that means. Sun-washed forested mountains, streams and rivers, lakes and woods miles so deep you could never see the trees. Kelly, a girl 2 years older. She had a car and a crush on me for 2 years at that point, but it took me leaving for her to make a move. In Amazon she was tall, thick thighs, broad behind, shoulders built for farm work. She took me into the tall dark forest late one summer night. We made love. Not that puerile adolescent fucking, but the adult type of love making, where you give a shit after and want not just sex but that love, that person, that smell. I've only smelled it then and never since. A mix of cum, beer, sweat, and her, Kelly. A sweet smell. A strong, sweet, musky, harsh and fleeting smell of young love lost forever. We made love several times after that on various occasions, but then lost each other. Decades later I sometimes remember her and wonder, what if? Single quote. Menstrual marinara. Morning dew on grass. Gasoline, wet, freshly mown grass, and mulch. The smell of my parents' room when I was a kid, which I now realize was cigarette smoke. Haiti. My first time there. I arrived by boat. I could smell the burnt trash well before I could see it. In some parts of Haiti, they burn trash to get rid of it. They burn trash in their homes to cook, particularly in some settlements of the North Coast. Haiti has a smell that you'll never forget. The smell of the disinfectant from my junior school when I was 6. Some kind of vile lemon scent that takes me right back and also puts me off lemon lollies. A preserved cadaver. Play-Doh. Smell of liquid ass all over a bathroom floor. Let me tell you, that is the worst thing I've ever smelled. And I'm going to stick with it. I smelled the stench of the entire dead body. And I swear that was the second most horrible thing I've ever smelt behind that. Imagine a floor covered with shit, and no ventilation, and been sitting there somehow rotting also. Blueberry anything. Mainly muffins and pancakes. God, what I wouldn't give for a blueberry pancake right now. A rotten egg. I cracked one within my hand after pulling it out of an egg tray. My fingers slipped inside and cracked it open. I'm still traumatized. The way it looked, and felt, and the smell, of course, was unforgettable. The smell of charred flesh in a rock? That shit will stick with ya. The storage room under the church. It had that arts and crafts storage smell with a strong dust note in. Not even sure I could describe the rest, but it was A+. About 15 years ago, I ran over a skunk. And I mean, ran over. Middle of the night, really tired, driving a 80,000-pound semi. And all of a sudden, a black and white shadow runs across the road. Truck feels like it hit a bump. And about a second later, the stench happened. I figure I can make it a few miles to the truck stop. And, despite tears blinding me, I did. I park, walk to the passenger side, and I see a mess of blood, fur and meat. I ran over the poor things with my front right tire, and it just exploded, throwing pieces of itself all over and under the truck. In the last fuck you asshole for running me over. Not even 5 minutes later, a poor soul walks out of the truck stop and tells me to leave, while throwing up and gasping for air. So, I leave, and park on the interstate entrance about a mile down the road. While I'm seriously contemplating abandoning the truck, since it's 35 degrees Celsius and I'm about to die. Blue lights light up behind me, because fucking Arkansas doesn't allow pairing in the exits and entrances. Trooper walks out of the car, comes to about the end of the trailer, turns around and runs back to his car, spins the tires and leaves, never to be seen again. I suck it up, and drive to the nearest wash, which is in Texarkana, 40 miles away. Poor kids working there had to wash it 7 times. Go to Walmart to buy gallons of tomato juice, because someone heard that it helps with skunk smell. LPT. It doesn't. Rub, scrub and rinse. And then they have to wash all the vomit off of the floor. Just writing this reminded me of the smell. and I'm about to throw up. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.